It's the show that kicks off the fall season in consumer electronics, and it's one close to my heart. IFA, the IFA, or the International Funkausstellung, aka the Berlin Radio Show, is coming up next week, and we're here to talk about it. Everything from the new Samsung Galaxy Note 3 to the Sony Honami to the LG G Pad. If these sound like gadgets you want to know more about, you're listening to the right show. Specifically, episode 059 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow where we discuss smartphones, tablets, and the state of mobile technology in 2013. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, and today I'm joined by the man with many miles under his belt, Pocketnow's championship race runner and multimedia manager, Jaime Rivera. Good day to you.
Championship race runner someday. Thanks for that. How's everything?
You don't roll your R's enough, Michael.
You know, I know, it's true. And speaking of which, we're also joined by the dude who I hate, like peanut butter hates jelly, senior editor Taylor Martin. Good afternoon to you, I guess.
What up, jelly?
Oh, you get to be peanut butter, huh? No, that's not how this is going to work. So, if you didn't get the reference, Jaime Rivera runs a lot, and he always makes sure we know about it on his Instagram photos. You should follow him. Jaime, what are you on Instagram? Underscore Jaime? Jaime underscore Rivera?
Just Jaime Rivera, all stuck together. I was able to find that one on Instagram.
Do you need an accent over the R? Will it recognize it without the accent?
It will recognize it, even on the Moto X.
Even on the Moto X, the best phone ever. He's one of Pocketnow. Jaime is one of Pocketnow's team members, one of the many team members, rapidly losing weight. Taylor's losing some. I guess Taylor went to go. I'm not gonna forget it. We'll talk about that later. Well, we were talking about something before you came on the air, but Jaime made a joke that was very funny. Yeah, don't worry about it.
That's a different losing weight, I guess.
I guess so. But
temporary loss.
I'm sure you lost about 3 pounds right now before we started recording.
But the point is, it's funny. I was talking to Brandon earlier because I'm going to be covering IFA in Berlin with Anton Dinoy, possibly the biggest weight loss champion on the team right now. And I was joking with Brandon Miniman earlier in the day that when we go to IFA this time I'm going to be the fat one because I haven't lost any weight. So
I was about to say you're gaining weight and you're gaining hair.
Wait, hold up. Am I gaining weight? I never said I was gaining weight. I said the rest of you guys are losing it. I'm not all right. Well, screw both of you guys.
It's all that Dunkin' Donuts coffee, man.
I was about to say you need to start following the active in that Galaxy S4 Active. Start using it for that.
Wow. Come on my own podcast to get roasted. Thanks, jerks. When your knees
I'm not roasting
are hurting
anyone.
you.
I've been there.
Yeah. You've been there. Wait a second. I'm not a fat guy.
Whoa. So you're saying I was?
No. Were you? I don't know. I don't know these things. I only see you on the internet.
I've been fat more than once in my life.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Because even if you are, it doesn't matter. That's fine. That's right. We don't know.
Even if you are, we love you like a fluffy teddy bear.
That's exactly right. I have no idea how to get out of this. Anyway, why don't we talk about technology? How's that? Okay.
Let me think.
Technology that'll make you slimmer.
No, I know because that's boring technology.
What about a very slim Android phone?
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah. I like that. But you know what? Before we do that, I'm going to crush your segue. And
I was about to say, wow, Taylor, is that a segue?
I know,
really?
Right? He was learning, but then I just smacked him down. We need to just let you know, listeners, that we are not stopping everything for IFA. There's stuff coming out even as we speak. We have received in the office some devices in the past couple days. Taylor Martin is going to be getting a Droid Ultra, I think, tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
It's a Motorola Droid Ultra. It is a Verizon unit, obviously. And I have a feeling that Taylor's going to be able to milk that for quite a bit. We're going to have maybe a comparison between that and the X, if my psychic powers are working correctly.
We have about 40 videos on schedule for the Droid Ultra.
Yeah, right, good.
That's
good.
a lie. That's a lie. But
But
yes,
it's probably
there's
close
plenty
to
of
the truth.
content.
Well, that's good. That's coming up. There's I just posted a video with the Ativ S Neo compared to the 8XT, and since you probably don't care about that, there's a review coming up on the Ativ S Neo, and since you probably don't care about that, there's also a Huawei Ascend P6 in my office.
Are you burning Windows Phone? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not
is that what
burning
I'm
Windows
listening
Phone.
right now? What's going on?
That's the problem.
Sprint
No,
Windows Phone.
exactly. That's the problem, right? No, I'm the leading Windows Phone cheerleader right behind Adam Lane on the team and Adam Dowd. But even given that, these devices are not my favorite things to carry around. I'm very much looking forward to getting rid of these mid-range phones masquerading as high-end devices. At least the price is right. Yeah, $50 on contract for the Ativ, S Neo on Sprint, and $0 for the 8XT on contract.
But I never judge Windows Phone by the price tag. I mean, the Lumia 920 was $100 after a 2-year contract, and that was not a $100 phone.
Absolutely, you're right. But you know what the funny thing was is that these phones came out on Sprint. By the way, listeners, if you're not familiar with Sprint, these are the first 2 Windows Phone 8 devices ever to launch on Sprint. They're very late to re-enter the party for various reasons. But they launched at I think $100 and $50 or $150 and $100 or something like that. And within like a week, they were discounted by. I mean, the prices were just slashed on them. So I don't know what that says about back to school promos. I don't know what it says about the perceived worth of the devices. But you should
not everybody wants a purple phone, man.
It's not purple. It's California blue. It's like
Whatever.
It's like Shea Stadium was, bro. It's a good color. It's a good
Speaking
color.
of price cuts, though, that Nexus 4. I know I'm a little off topic here, but
yeah, what's the deal?
I didn't realize it until this morning, but they dropped the price to $199 and to $250 for the 16 gigabyte model. $250 for a no contract Nexus 4. That is insane.
That is crazy. That's cheaper than the Lumia 1020.
I want to buy 2 of them just in case something ever happens to one of the phones I'm using.
You know, it's funny because the Nexus 4 was what I was going to invest in before I got the Moto X, the customized Moto X. And I will say, since we're on this brief jaunt into Android, that I'm no longer regretting my white faceplate choice on the Moto X. I've discovered that it's the perfect summertime phone. You take my phone out into the sunlight and it looks great.
Well, summertime's about to end, son.
Taylor, there's a reason you don't work at Buzzkill International anymore. All right? It's okay to be happy here on the Pocketnow Weekly. It's okay.
Speaking of Buzz Killington, Galaxy Gear. Sorry, I'm just practicing segues here.
It's good. Good for you. No, we have to jump into IFA stuff. We're trying to keep this light.
Oh, come on. Kill a segue, man. Make him pay a little. Come on.
No, because it's a good one. We have to jump into IFA, but we're not going to talk about Galaxy Gear, so eat it. We are going to do that later. The first thing we're talking about is the Galaxy Note 3. Now, this is a mainstay of IFA, the Galaxy Note. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. The Galaxy Note, the first edition one, was announced at IFA 2 years ago, correct?
Yes.
And then the second one was last year.
And so I was there for that with Tony. And IFA, the reason it's close to my heart, this show, is because it's the first trade show I ever covered, and so it's, I have special memories from the event, even though a lot of things went wrong. But the Galaxy Note 2 was announced then, and that is when I fell in love with the phablet category. I didn't take the first Galaxy Note seriously. I thought it was hilarious. And then it became somewhat successful, and I sort of took it somewhat seriously intellectually. But it wasn't until the Galaxy Note 2 came out that I really embraced the phone. And then I got one, and it has been a consistent source of my, what do you call that when you bounce back to a previous lover, besides, predictable human behavior.
Can I say that on
Rebound?
the air?
Yeah,
Rebound
Rebound.
phone.
Thank you. It's been my consistent rebound phone since then. So yeah, about every 3 weeks I'll pop my SIM back in the Galaxy Note. I'm like, yeah, I remember the S Pen. This is fun. The big screen, the big battery. So anyway, it is also my show phone. So I'll be taking the Galaxy Note 2 over there to see the Galaxy Note 3. Now, Taylor, you have a Galaxy Note 2 as well.
I do have the international version.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
but
do.
I have the T-Mobile version.
Wait, you have a Galaxy Note 2 down there as well?
Yeah.
All three of us on the air have Galaxy Note 2s. That's pretty cool.
Jaime, I'll trade you.
Of course,
Listen. Go ahead.
I should make the point that Samsung also sort of flooded the market with these things. I think this was the most plentiful review unit I'd ever seen, We're like,
I reviewed it 3 times.
We had our mouths like we were halfway through a sentence, and it's like, "Hey Samsung, do you have any Galaxy Note 2?" And they were like, "Yeah, we got 8. Here, take 16." It's like, okay.
I left the U.S. launch party with 2, and then they sent me another one in the mail 2 or 3 weeks later.
Yeah. So
it was like crazy,
right? Isn't it nuts? So sometimes review units are really hard to get a hold of, and sometimes there's just a dump truck that shows up. And
yeah, they were like, "Don't let anybody see the second unit," and they stuffed it in my book bag, and I walked out with it.
No, but they did the right thing. I mean, I think all of us love the Galaxy Note 2. I mean, it took me a while to convince Brandon to give me his, because the one I have is actually his. You remember he gave it to me at CES.
At CES in Vegas, yeah.
And he was like, "Are you really going to use this phone?" And I'm like, "I'll give it a try," and I haven't stopped using it. It's probably one of my favorite phones.
So we've spoken about the virtues of the Galaxy Note 2 before. We've been over this territory before. Now, what is coming in the Note 3? We've heard a lot of rumors, but I will venture to say that not a lot of the rumors that are believable are not hugely exciting, but I don't mean to say that as though I'm surprised. This seems to be Samsung's year of incremental upgrades, right?
That's every year.
Well, not really, because the Galaxy S3.
Okay, the S3
would be
was
my
a big
argument
step up.
that was a big step up, right?
Yeah.
But we saw it at the beginning of this year in Barcelona when they unveiled the Note 8, which was a new category. You know, it was bringing the Note line to a new form factor. A new size, segment, and even then, it wasn't mind blowing. We're about to do an After the Buzz on the Note 8 this week, and I enjoy the product, but even when Anton and I were looking at it in Barcelona, I was like, well, it's kind of just like a really blown up Galaxy S3, isn't it? With an S Pen, or like a really shrunken down Galaxy Note 2, more precisely. And that seems to be holding true in all the rumors we're seeing here. It looks like a slightly expanded Galaxy Note 2. The rumors say, what is this, a 5.68 inch screen versus the existing 5.5 inch?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, because we've heard 6.3, 5.9, 5.7, 5.8.
We've heard so many sizes. At first we heard 6.3 and 5.8, and then the Galaxy Mega came out.
Right. Yeah, that's why they have all those panels. Okay.
No comment on that. But the problem with the Note 2 is that I've never been in a scenario where we've seen so many conflicting rumors. We've got some leaked photographs of a square display like 4 weeks ago, and now yesterday we got leaks of the panel, which just looks like a blown up Galaxy S4. That's just the way it's going to be.
And that's upsetting.
And then we were hearing optical image stabilization, and then apparently Samsung had to kill it because their vendor is not ready on the camera. And now, as of yesterday, we're hearing that the camera is going to be capable of 4K video, which is, guys, I still find this funny. I'm not going to be able to afford a 4K TV for the next 5 years. Why? It's cool to have the capability. I just wonder, where am I going to watch it?
That's very true. Yeah. But now, is this something? I have a question. Is this something where, like we talked about with 1080p screens, like when 1080p displays on smartphones were rumored, we were like, this is ridiculous. We can't see pixels on 720. Why do we need 1080? And then the Droid DNA came out, and we were all like, oh, no, you can see that, can't you? Is this going to be something like that where it's like...
No, it's 4 times 1080p. I mean, come on. What's the point about recording something in 4K if the video size is going to be so big you're not going to be able to keep it?
Well, there's that.
That's true, yeah.
And who has a 4K television? Who's going to have one for the next
you guys don't?
5 years?
I've got like 12. You can have one of mine.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's a feature that I think for now it's going to be like the HTC, what was it, Evo 3D?
Yeah.
Like, who really cares about having 3D video? Who cares about having 4K?
I care about it if it's cool, if it's done right, but nobody's done it right. So
nobody's done 1080p video right yet.
Nobody's done it right. And listen, it's not like if we're complaining about progress. There's nothing wrong with 4K video. It's just one of those things that I wish wouldn't have been pushed yet, and they would have focused their guns on something else, like optical image stabilization, which does improve low light performance on any camera.
Optical image stabilization is like the new thing. It's going to be the thing. And in 6 months, you're going to really need to have it. Or it's going to be on most smartphones. Right now, you really need to have it on a new product for us to take the camera seriously, I feel like. And that was quick. I mean, that just started happening, with the Lumia 920, right?
Yeah, so in under a year, it's become basically a standard.
Exactly.
And my problem with 4K is that basically if somebody uses it in a camera on a phone, they're doing it mainly for the selling feature. the spec list saying this can shoot 4K.
Right.
Nobody cares that they can't utilize it or that it looks like crap. It's 4K.
It's like quad-core processors a year ago.
Yeah, just tell me how many camcorders, like affordable camcorders in the market right now can shoot 4K. Again,
I thought you meant as like a system of measurement. Like,
listen, I don't mind if we get a 4K display on the phone, because let's just say that the next thing next year will be 4K displays on phones. I don't know what the point is going to be, but at least you don't need something else to enjoy the display, meaning you'll have a 4K display and you're going to be able to see it right there and enjoy it right there. And whatever it's going to do it fine. But what's the point about 4K video if you can't enjoy it?
Yeah. This is a solid point. I still like the idea of a camcorder as a unit of resolution measurement, though.
I guess the only reason why I would like...
What's the resolution on that camera? 14 camcorders.
I guess the only reason why I would like 4K is like if they would figure out a way to do like what you can do with the Lumia 1020. You take a photograph and then use crop in and crop in and pixel double. If they could figure out a way to do that, meaning I could shoot a video right now and then crop into a portion of the video and have that be 1080p and have that not be pixelated, and I would enjoy it, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that with that sensor. With a sensor that big, I don't think they're going to figure that one out. At least not yet.
No, but you can do that with the 1020. You can zoom in and you're still recording at 1080p, correct?
No, you're cropping into the video. You're making it smaller, I believe.
I don't know what in video mode. I'm not sure how to answer that, but I don't know. I want to get away from the camera for a second because we just don't know enough about the camera here.
Well, okay, to answer your question, Taylor, before we begin, you're not losing 1080p, but your pixels are becoming bigger the more you zoom in. So it's not really 1080p. The final format of the video is 1080p, but the real pixels are taking up like 4, 5, 6, 8, depending on how much you zoom into a clip. So it's not really zooming.
All right. Okay. So we've established a little bit about the display. One thing we should touch on is that I feel like for months and months and months, the Galaxy Note 3 has been associated with these rumors of a flexible display, which we should probably say, even if it is included, doesn't mean a flexible phone. Primarily, that is a savings in weight and thickness.
And shatter resistance.
Shadow resistance, yeah.
And hold on. How is that the case, though? Because even if it's a flexible display, the display elements, they're still protected by a layer of glass that has to be some kind of conventional glass, right?
But it's not rigid anymore. So.
Right. If you drop the phone, like if you drop a phone with a rigid display, not rigid glass covering the display, a rigid display, that panel can shatter. If you shatter just the glass of that, you could replace just the glass. If the display doesn't shatter using one of these flexible displays, then you could just replace the glass, which is cheaper.
I get you. Okay, I understand that, but most of the time when I see shattered phones in the real world, I see shattered glass and a perfectly intact display behind it.
Yeah, but they could also just use plastic over this flexible display instead of glass, which
God, I would
heinous. Cringe.
No,
that would be a Samsung move. That would be a
Samsung.
They wouldn't be able to do that to make that a capacitive display. Mm-hmm. And that would be like a scratch.
No, you can do that
altogether.
No, you can make a capacitive display with plastic.
You can, but okay, so it will be the worst scratch magnet you could think of.
It would be. See the Palm Pre.
Yeah, and by the way, regarding the flexible display, actually that was like about a week later after those rumors of a flexible display, then it came out that both LG and Samsung had played this crazy order of flexible displays to the vendor, but they're really looking for using that for smartwatch to give it more of like a pebble curvature.
And we are going to get into that in a second, too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that soon. But yeah, I guess that's not coming on a phone. They're planning on using it on something else, actually.
So
we'll stick out of that one. I don't know. I don't know enough to know, so
that's
I'm just going to throw my hands up in the air and back away.
Nobody knows enough to know. Back away.
I just don't think that they're going to come out with something like crazy revolutionary on this phone, because the Galaxy S whatever they're using the Galaxy S as the phone that pushes whatever innovations, and then the Note 2 is just the bigger version with a pen that can also use these. So I don't think this is the timing.
No, I agree. So all these rumors about a possible metal chassis and all this stuff, I was like, no, we're not going to see that. We're going to see a larger Galaxy S4 rather a larger Galaxy Note 3, but that uses the design language of the Galaxy S4. And I'm almost want to say I'm okay with that, just because I like the look of the Galaxy S4 better, and the Galaxy Note 2 improved on the Galaxy S3 in terms of its the feel in hand. Yeah. It definitely feels more substantial, and not just because it's heavier and bigger, but because it's built better. And I hope that that's the case here as well with the Note 3. But we'll find out about that. And the last thing I want to talk about is that the battery. I think I've seen this at a couple sites. I don't know if we reported on it, but looks like people are nailing down this value of a 3,450 milliamp hour battery. Yeah, which is slightly larger than the 3,100 milliamp hour pack that the current Note 2 rocks. But I am worried that this won't represent a sizable boost in endurance, because if the thing ships with an 8-core processor, right? Is it going to come with the Exynos?
And no, apparently it's okay. So this is an old rumor. There are 7 variants of the same phone. Actually, 7 variants apparently, and one of these most of these are running the Snapdragon 800. So if you get the Snapdragon 800 plus that battery, I'm sure that's going to be, that's going to be a beauty. Now, one of these phones actually has an LCD panel and not an AMOLED.
Is that the one that they're saying that might be the Galaxy Note Active?
Yeah, and they're rumoring that phone is also going to have an 8-megapixel camera.
Oh,
so apparently we are getting a Note Active, and
I would get that in
6 variants of the Note.
I don't care what the specs are. I'll get it. I loved that Galaxy S4 Active. Oh man, I missed that thing. Well, listen.
Yeah, speaking of wanting, I'm actually as much of an advocate as I've been of the Note and the Note 2. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of meh about this. And I wrote an editorial yesterday that said I may be done with big phones forever. Mm-hmm. And
which is weird, because you have like the biggest hands on the team, right?
Yeah, and I've loved. I've been a huge advocate of the so-called phablet for years now, and I've loved bigger phones. And then I got the Galaxy Mega 6.3 and Z Ultra.
No, and that's ridiculous. That's not big. That's ridiculous.
They absolutely just destroyed me. Because I could not get into using the phone like I usually get a new phone, and I don't care if I wanted to get it or not. Like, I might moan and groan when somebody's like, "Hey, we're sending you this phone," and I'm like, okay. And then I get it, and I unbox it, and I'm like, okay, I'm excited. Yes, let's have fun with this. And the Z Ultra was just kind of like, sweet, this is awesome. I was excited about getting it. And then it came, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, this doesn't fit anywhere.
No, I saw one on the bus the other day. It looks ridiculous.
I had nowhere to put it. It didn't fit in my pockets. I had to sit it in my car seat because it wouldn't fit in the console.
I'm picturing you like buckling it in with a seatbelt.
Did you have a child safety seat for that?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah.
Did you tie a balloon to it just in case it wandered off?
Yeah, there was just nowhere to put the phone except for in my bag. And if I put it in my pocket, it literally jabbed me in the stomach when I sat down. So I'm going out with my friends to restaurants and stuff, and I'm just like, squirming around in the seat trying to fix my phone because it's just not comfortable.
By the way, right now it's like 11 o'clock in Romania. Somewhere in some dance club in Romania, Anton is just like perking up and like looking up into the air and like sniffing and going, something's not right on the podcast.
That phone had to be mine.
No, he said he didn't like. He said he was done with big phones too.
What?
Well,
yeah.
No,
yeah.
He's always wanted tablets.
This is the guy. Phones. Yeah, this is the guy who loves tablet phones. What are you talking about? I will ask him because I'll see him next week. I'll ask him that very thing.
Yeah, he said after the Pad phone, he's
all right. I'm going to make the point here, Taylor, though, that those two phones that you cite, I think, are not. In this case of the Sony device, I don't think it's properly positioned. I think that's a small tablet, not a big phone, and you said as much. And I think that the Galaxy Mega is just ridiculous. So if you put those aside, the fact that they're not really either well-made or well-targeted products, the Galaxy Note family is the handheld ones, the phablet versions. So, I think that's good.
If they keep it around the same size, but what they're doing...
Look at that, 5.68 inches, if that's true, that's like basically... Because 5.5 is pretty good, I think.
Yeah. If they keep it around the same size, I'll be happy.
Yeah,
me
too.
That doesn't necessarily mean I'll get it, though. Because, and as much as I've loved the Note 2, and, I still use it now, from time to time. I'm actually really enjoying having a small phone again, and I think it's because I carry 2 phones again.
Yeah, that is it. If you carry more than one device, but then you get into our territory of like the tech dudes, and I don't want to get too far away from. I get worried about losing touch with normal people, after a while, because most people don't carry more than one phone, and we all carry like 16 at a time. You look at the forum threads at the Pocketnow forums, like, what's in your bag, Michael Fisher? I'm like, only about 86 devices.
You really want me to answer that?
Yeah, exactly.
His one response to the thread took up like 3 pages.
Yeah, it was nuts. So I like to stay in touch with people who only carry one phone, and I understand Samsung's decision to continue improving the Note line, even if it's only marginally. And we don't know. Maybe it'll be massive. But one thing that I'll say is, if these rumors are true, which I think they are, that we're going to see a marginal increase, it's just an incremental upgrade, that's sad, because to me, last year, the Note 2 was very exciting, not just because it represented an improvement in aesthetic design, but because it brought in so many useful features and cool features that it kind of totally reinvented the Galaxy Note. Like, the first one was this experiment that went right, but the second one was like, now we've got a polished consumer product here, and watch us sell millions, and then they did. So that was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean the multi-window, the hovering of the
pop-up
the S
browser
Pen,
and the
pop-up browser. Mm-hmm. I mean, they really figured out, okay, we're going to ship a big display. Let's not just make this a big phone.
Right.
Let's make it useful.
Right.
I'm afraid they're going to go Galaxy S4 with it, though. And what I mean by that is throwing in all these quote innovations where, and I said it today in an editorial I wrote, I don't want to tilt my head to scroll in the browser. And I don't know anyone that does. And that's kind of Samsung's thing, is they're like, ooh, this is a good idea, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and I feel like they're going to probably do that with a couple things, and it kind of detracts from the whole experience. I was comparing that with the Moto X, because I was saying that nobody wants to tilt their head to scroll in the browser, and nobody wants to scrunch up their nose and blink twice to, fire the shutter in the camera app. Like, nobody wants to do these really weird, unnatural things, and Motorola has actually kind of used real use cases to improve the phone. And Samsung, it's like they have this disconnect with the real world where, if you stand on your head, your phone will do, crazy things. It's like, why? I don't understand. So that's my fear with the Note 3.
I just imagine
Samsung.
What? Go ahead.
I just imagine the project manager going into the engineering department and being like, "Okay, guys, we're gonna build. What sensors are we building into this phone?" And they're like, "Oh, this and this and this. Okay, what can I do with these sensors?" And everybody just brainstorms like 20 ideas, and he's like, "Okay, build them all into the phone."
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. And
like cross your eyes for pinch to zoom.
The counter argument.
Pinch to zoom.
The counter argument to all that, of course, is like, why not? Right. So the counter argument is, why not include all these features? And if you don't like them, you can just disable them, right? But throwing that many features into the phone to begin with, first of all, it is, and they're not invisible. It's not like they're just hanging out back there. The phone prompts you out of the box. It's like, you want to enable all this crap, and you're like, yeah, sure. And even if you don't do that, they're in the notification toggle shade all the time. So the thing just feels loaded down. You know what?
Well, it is loaded down. The system image is
huge. The TouchWiz footprint is massive. So, but we've covered all this before. We'll see what Samsung does in the future. Let's keep our eye on the ball here, and let's move on a little bit. We're going to come back to Samsung.
I'm going to patent that.
What, are you going to patent crossing your eyes to pinch to zoom? I think you should do that. Release the Martin phone. I'd buy one. Let's talk a little bit about a different phone from another manufacturer for a second. Now, this is a manufacturer I don't know much about, and I say that in a lot of podcasts, and you gotta think that sometimes, maybe if I communicated more with this company, I'd know a little bit more about them. But we don't know. We don't know these things. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe I'll get to meet some people at IFA. Maybe that'll change some things. Guys, tell me something about the Sony Honami. Is this a smartphone? What is this?
It is a smartphone. Actually, at first I thought this was going to be a phablet, but it turns out that this is like it's like a continuation to the Xperia Z, where it's actually being rumored that it's going to be called the Xperia Z. What? Do you guys remember the name?
Xperia Z1?
It was going to exactly the Z1. It was rumored to be called the Xperia I1, and then they changed it to Z1. Apparently, it's like a continuation to the Z. So what you're getting is, I'm gonna knock on wood here, and I'm just hoping that they figure out the display with this phone. Whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there. I reviewed the Z Ultra, and it has the new triluminous display, but it doesn't have, the one I had does not have the X Reality engine yet. It was using the Mobile Bravia 2 engine 2, and honestly, I didn't feel the display. I thought it was okay. It wasn't mind-blowing, and I just got absolutely just torn apart in the comments of that review. And I did. I used it beside the One, the Note 2, all the different display types, and I read other reviews, and they were saying that the display was great, but I honestly didn't think it was amazing. The black levels are absolutely garbage. Like black on this display was like light gray,
slate gray. Yeah.
And so I said it was mediocre, and people were just ripping. You can go read the comments now. It's just
listeners, the reason why this is because the display. So when I reviewed the Xperia ZL, they tore me as well. They were like, "What? It's got the mobile Bravia engine, what?" And I'm like, you know what? I reviewed the Xperia S, which did have the Bravia engine 1, and that was a beautiful display. It's like if they grabbed the display of the HTC One X and they just put it on their Sony phone. It was that good.
Yeah.
It was that good. The Xperia S had a beautiful display. But what is the Bravia engine on the Xperia ZL? Okay, listen, just imagine yourself opening a photograph, and then when you open the photograph, wait 1 second and look for greens to look greener and look for blues to look bluer. That's really the Bravia engine. It only works when you open a photo.
Okay. Yeah, it ramps up, and I don't know if the X Reality engine is the same way. I can't tell because I've never used it, because the Z Ultra that I reviewed didn't have the X Reality engine, and I tried to explain that. I explained it in the review, and people just didn't get it.
I started what started happening? Something happened over here just in the last couple of seconds. My eyes started defocusing, and I started salivating in anticipation of a yawn. And I think within about 10 seconds, I'm going to be asleep. So can we talk about the Honami?
That'd be good.
Okay, so the Honami. I'm actually gonna praise Sony in a couple of things here before I continue talking about this phone. So apparently you're getting a 20 megapixel camera. I'm going to praise the Sony later, but okay, so you're getting a 20 megapixel camera, and rumors are that you are getting. I don't know about optical image stabilization, but I do know 4K video. So we go back to the same Galaxy Note commentary. Forget about it. But aside from that, it's apparently going to have
a dedicated camera shutter button is the rumor. Dedicated shutter button.
Well, almost, yeah. Well, the Xperia ZL had one. I don't know if the Z Ultra.
The Ultra did too.
Yeah. Nice. Good to see Sony continuing that. That's nice.
Yeah, and actually, this is going to be a waterproof phone as well. And apparently it's going to have this metal chrome band around it. And it's going to be really thin.
Metal chrome band would seem to suggest that there won't be the bevy of access doors in this one.
Exactly.
The Z Ultra had it wasn't chrome, but it was an aluminum band around the outside, and it had all the access doors.
Oh, did it really? Okay, so never mind. I take that back. Sorry. Yep. All right, so that's pretty cool. What else have we got there? That's Snapdragon 800 under the hood.
Snapdragon 800
and 2 gigs of RAM.
Tons of bezel.
Is there tons of bezel from the images we're seeing?
Yeah, on the top and bottom, there's a lot. It just looks, when you compare it to something like the S4, which has very, very little bezel, this looks ridiculous. Or maybe it's because I've been using the Moto X for so long, or for a few weeks, and it just...
Yeah, well, you've also been using the Lumia 1020. You should be used to a little bezel by now. You know what I mean?
And listen, again, in my review of the ZL, that another comment that I got like crazy was, why are you complaining about that 13 megapixel camera? Okay. The bottom line, listeners, is, Sony builds the sensors for what you get on the iPhone and the Galaxy S4. And just as that, I don't know what these companies do with the Sony sensor that's better than Sony, because photos on the 13 megapixel camera of the ZL were grainy, and I don't know what to expect about this 20 megapixel camera as well, sadly.
Yeah,
sadly,
I also don't know. Yeah, Sony is really big on emphasizing their camera quality in their events. Like you have Motorola, sort of did that for the Moto X, but then once the release happened, or once we got closer to release, they really de-emphasized the camera performance. So other companies kind of adapt on the move. Sony always seems to make this big deal about like we're using the Exmor RS and all this kind of stuff, and it's like
yeah. They're giving names to everything, and it's not. And listen, by the way, Taylor Martin's. All three of us have a Sony NEX camera that we used to film our videos.
Yeah, we love it.
We are happy. We are happy Sony customers when it comes to their cameras. But sadly, it's like if these two departments didn't talk to each other over there in Japan. It's like if they don't get along. It apparently is that problem.
Another interesting thing I'm seeing about the Honami, in addition to it being waterproof, which I always love. Is frickin' the battery looks like a 3,000 milliamp hour battery, from what I understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
on a very thin phone. Apparently, this phone is going to be like really thin.
Well, it doesn't look thin in the pictures that I'm seeing, but then again, this person's hands might be just extremely small. Yeah, I can't tell. I don't know. But if I have one note to add, I've used the Z and the Z Ultra. And they are both built really well. That's a very high point. The Tablet Z, I have that as well. Same exact design language. They're all built very well, but they all have the same problem. The glass scratches so easily.
Really?
It's Dragon Trail, right?
I haven't scratched my Xperia ZL. That's interesting.
I scratched the Xperia Z unboxing it.
No way.
Yeah, and the ZL scratched with. I babied that thing. I had to use it with two hands.
Thank you.
Not
Appreciate
the
it.
Not the ZL. I meant the Z Ultra. Sorry. But I babied it. Yeah, sorry, Jaime. But I babied it, and I carried it with two hands, set it down gently, and everything, and it got scratched, and it really just didn't take a whole lot, and that was in a week.
Well, I'll admit, for example, the ZL is probably... I don't think I've ever used the phone like the ZL without a case for so long, because I don't find cases for that phone here, and it looks brand new. It still looks brand new. But, another thing that I'd probably like to praise about Sony, aside from their build quality, is, this phone's already running Android 4.2.2, and this is like a first time ever that Sony does this. I mean, ever since they launched their Xperia Android lineup, we were already doing Froyo, and they came up with a cupcake phone. And then the Xperia S, they offered their ice cream sandwich update, and they kept people waiting for 6 months. They said March, then April, then May, then June, July. When you least expected, you got it in October.
What was the Taylor Swift phone? I can't remember the name of that one.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was a phone that it was an Xperia phone that they had like a Taylor Swift special edition. It might be the ones you were talking about, this cupcake. It took them like a year to launch the phone because they couldn't get the software right.
Yeah, and so the point is, Sony's getting really good when it comes to software. I got Android 4.2.2 like almost 3 weeks ago, and yesterday I got another update for some battery issues. They're getting really good at this. They're finally figuring out their software updates. It's probably their implementation's not the best in the world, but at least it's probably like one of the most advanced phones that I have right now, and that's like the first time ever. Sony's always been late, and they finally figured this one out. So I guess that, let's see what we get with this, Honami, whatever that phone's going to be called. But, at least on the software front, they're doing a really good job. Let's hope they... Go ahead.
I know a lot of people don't like the Sony interface. I don't like the icons in particular, but that's about the only thing I don't like about it.
Yeah,
I actually enjoy the software and the small apps. It's been done before.
The small apps were cool, yeah.
The small apps they've been done before, but the fact that you can turn any widget into a small app is amazing. Yeah. So you can just open like my Press widget. I use Press for an RSS reader. I can open Press and view that while I'm in the browser. It's just it kind of one-ups Samsung's multi-window or the other floating apps that are out there, because you can turn anything into a floating app.
You know, and speaking of Samsung, I mean, and speaking of Android as well, I mean, none of the none of the phones from last year, Galaxy Note 2, Galaxy S3, none of these phones have gotten 4.2.2 yet. And Sony's already nailed it. And for those of you that are rocking the HTC One X, it's already got 4.2.2 as well, at least the international variant. I got it 2 days ago, and it finally made this phone usable again. So, I mean, Sony is one of those companies that has figured that one out, which is interesting because Samsung was really good about updates before, and now they've become terrible.
Well, and then the carriers get in the game, and, you know, the updates thing is something that might never get solved ever. But
Samsung said they're not doing 4.2 because 4.3 is it's already out. They're working on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this just in, two new facts. I'm sorry about my flurry of typing before, but it was a time-sensitive issue. Apparently, I'm going to a Red Sox game tonight. So hooray.
Ooh,
hooray. That's a nice, fun surprise. Secondly, I've just dispatched another email to one of our contacts at Sony, and hopefully we'll be able to see this thing once we arrive at IFA in a timely fashion. We will definitely be able to see the Honami. It's just a question of when, and hopefully it will be sooner rather than later. In a related note, we have a very, very, very busy schedule at this year's IFA, and I think we should move on a little bit. But I want to ask you guys about something else we might see from Sony at this event, and it's not the Honami, but it is an accessory. And it's something we talked about on the weekly before, and it looks like the most ridiculous thing ever. You remember the soup can we talked about that goes on the back of your phone, makes you take pretty pictures?
Yeah, there's a rumored price for it now.
What is that rumored price for this attachment?
One of them. Let me see if I can find us. You liked that, didn't you?
The soup can.
That's what it looks like.
All right, let me look it up.
What is it going to be called? Campbell's or what?
Yeah, the Sony Campbell's accessory.
All right, so
Sony Progresso.
One of them is called the QX100, and the other one is a QX10.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. The QX100 is supposedly going to hit at $500 US.
These guys are nuts. That's the price of. Oh, wait a second. That's the price of an NEX 5N. Why am I gonna pay a 5R? Why am I gonna pay for a Campbell's soup can that I have to attach to my phone when all I could use is my mirrorless camera? That's stupid.
Because you're gonna be carrying two things anyway, right? Yeah. What's the other one?
The QX10 is priced at approximately $230 US. Now, it supposedly uses the same sensor as the RX100, which is a very nice camera.
Ooh.
But
hey, wait a second. That's a full-frame sensor.
Yeah, it's an 1-inch sensor, 1-inch, 20.2 megapixels.
Okay, no, hold it right there. If you're talking about a full-frame sensor on that,
not a full frame, but close.
Well, the RX100, that's what it has. It's that's the only reason.
What is a full-frame sensor?
Okay, so when you buy a DSLR, you either get, it's not a full-frame sensor, and those are like the entry-level cameras. But if you get the full-frame sensor, that's like you're talking about Canon 5, a 5D.
A really expensive camera.
Okay, you have to buy like a really expensive camera to get a full-frame sensor. And what made this RX100 so popular is that they figured out how to fit that small little that huge sensor into that small little petite camera. So it's not a mirrorless camera. It's like a point and shoot camera with a full frame sensor. That's what makes it popular. So I mean, if they're going to be charging $500 for that lens, which is a camera as well, and it's got a full frame sensor, that thing is going to be out of this world for $500. Now we're talking.
Wait, no.
Go ahead.
No, the RX100 isn't. The RX1 is a full frame.
Okay.
The RX100 is not full frame. It's a cyber shot. It's a pocket camera.
Okay, well wait a second. But that's the thing. There's an RX point and shoot camera that has a full frame sensor, and that's why it's so popular. It's like a Leica camera. It's like a Leica camera. It's a portable.
Leica.
Yeah, that's the RX1, which is like a $2,700 point and shoot camera.
Yeah. So that's not what we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're talking about the RX100, which is like $700 or $750. Mm-hmm. So you're getting that same sensor, which is still a great camera. The RX100 is the best point and shoot you can get, if I'm not mistaken. But this little bolt-on attachment for your phone will have the same sensor, 20.2 megapixels, as the RX100M2. So your Mark II. And that one's supposed to be around $450 to $500, and then the other one is $230. So it's...
Yeah, I mean, so these things seem to be... I don't know what their strategy is here, right? Because you're carrying two things at once. The only thing that makes this different than carrying a smartphone and a dedicated really awesome camera is that these are smaller than a typical dedicated really awesome camera. They're not much smaller, but they are smaller. So maybe that matters if you are... not if you're going to be wearing skinny jeans, but if you're going to be carrying, if you don't want to carry a bag, but you are going to be wearing a vest with a lot of pockets. You're out in the wilderness.
Imagine getting a phone call with that thing strapped to your phone.
And you wouldn't want to, right? So it should be something that's so easy that the NFC is constantly aware, and then when the NFC connection is broken, then it just disables it. I don't know. Maybe it's just something you can slap on quickly.
So Sony is making this. Seemingly, it's an awesome product. I mean, to be able to attach that to the back of my Moto X and actually take decent pictures is amazing. I'd like to do that, and I actually probably would stop carrying
and the Moto X needs it.
Yeah. The Moto X does need this accessory, but they're making this accessory that is... It's not going to be marketed to a mass consumer base because nobody is going to actually want to buy that for $450 or $500.
No.
They're not going to see the point of it.
It's
an accessory. You're selling an accessory for more than what most people conceive a phone to be worth.
Exactly. And this is a world where the LG G2 has an optically stabilized camera built into a body that doesn't have a bulge in it, basically. Yeah. That's the world you're launching these big old hockey pucks into. So it depends on who the target consumer is. Maybe we're all being short-sighted, and there's a market for this that's just been dying for this, but I don't know exactly what it is. But I will say this, and I've said it before, but the geeky part of me is excited about this. I want to put aside my responsibility to the consumer for a second and just think about me, because I do that well. I'm a selfish dude. But it's like, hey, look, there's this nerdy thing that attaches to your phone and enhances its functionality, like a tricorder peripheral, like a sensor package, like anything that actually gloms onto the back of my phone to make it better. For some reason, I'm really amped on that. I don't know why. I like that. I like hardware that's customizable.
It's like an exoskeleton for your phone.
Yeah, like an Elysium. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was an awesome movie.
It was an awesome movie. It was not subtle, but it was an awesome movie.
It was not subtle at all, but it was great.
Jodie Foster's accent. LOL.
I don't know. I'm trying to see a functionality for this. It's cool. I mean, it just costs the same amount of money as a camera, and it's got almost the same size as a camera. So what's the difference about just carrying a camera?
I know.
So how do you move your pictures from your camera to your phone when you're out somewhere?
Okay. So here's the thing. That body has storage. It has its battery. It just needs the phone as a viewfinder.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can send I'm sure you can send the photos to the phone with this. Like on a Sony NEX5R, you can send them through Wi-Fi. You can do that. So
you can do that with my camera. You can do it with the NEX. Just get an IFA card.
Exactly.
For $30-$40.
Exactly. So I guess my point is, this is cool. It's just, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, but I mean, I used to do that. Last summer, I would go out and take a bunch of pictures with my new camera, and I used an IFI card, and I would just connect my phone to it for a few minutes, let the picture sync over, and any picture I took with my 5N would be on my iPhone, my iPad, or whatever I had connected to the IFI card. It's that to me seems like a much more practical solution, because you're carrying maybe a little more bulk, but you're also getting the full functionality of a camera that doesn't need a smartphone.
Exactly.
And a smartphone.
So all right, so we've talked this thing sort of to death, and we'll see it, and we'll talk about it next week as well on a special edition Pocketnow Weekly from IFA. Let's talk about another product we're not sure, or at least I'm not sure, is called for. There's a rumored LG G-Pad tablet.
Stop calling things G-Pad, G anything LG.
So
LG G-Pad.
Last year's products are going to be called the OGs. Oh God.
Truth. So yeah, I think the details on this one are pretty slim, right? We're looking at a possibly 8.3-inch screen. That's a good start. We like that resolution. We like that size with 1920 by 1200 resolution, which is also quite good. Well, I mean, not quite good, but it's good. A quad-core processor, 2 gigs of RAM, and a very thin form factor with minimal bezels and an aluminium back, as our British friends would say, for reduced weight.
And a lot of Korean bloatware that you're not going to be able to read.
Oh, well, yeah.
There is that. LG likes to do that. Like the Optimus G Pro that I had, I could use like a fourth of the things that came pre-installed. It came pre-installed with over 70 applications.
Whoa.
It was like 85 or something.
Is that a cultural thing? Is bloatware kind of expected in the Koreas? No, I mean
I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, it had something for everything.
Huh.
Everything. I mean, it had the TV app that I couldn't use. It had all sorts of crazy things that I just couldn't use because they were all in Korean, and changing the language didn't do anything.
So, yeah, just on the face of it, if you take off the branding, if you just look at the rumored specs with this 8-inch screen, it's an okay resolution, 2 gigs of RAM, and a very thin form factor with an aluminum back, honestly, you've got my attention. Do I remember other devices from LG, other tablets having aluminum backs? Why do I think this is familiar to me? Was there a brushed metal back on one of those? Yeah, no, I know Asus does it, but did LG do any of them?
I don't know. But I know that aluminum backs on tablets has proven tricky, I guess, for Wi-Fi connections.
They're scratchable or connectivity?
Yeah, because the Asus, which one was that? Transformer pad. I don't remember which one it was. Their naming is so awful. But I had one, and Wi-Fi would cut out. I was like maybe 15 feet from the router, and Wi-Fi would just drop off. And then it would reconnect, and it would drop off, and it would reconnect. And they released an update to it with a plastic cover over the antennas, and it worked fine. So if you could get around that, then yeah. And it looks like it. Go ahead.
Go ahead, my friend.
I was just saying the plastic looked like it wraps around the edge on one side, so it might be where the antennas are.
The only thing to look forward to on this phone is a very boring event. And yeah, LG builds the IPS displays that Apple uses, and those are good. They're state of the art. So we can expect a beautiful display on a tablet that is probably just going to be another Me Too tablet, I guess.
And it's probably, and I'm just going out on a limb here, it's probably going to miss the mark by 10,000 miles on price.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When you have the Nexus 7, which is arguably one of the best tablets I've ever used in my life, for $230, how do you compete with that? Because LG would be taking LG would be taking a hit on the price, whereas Google doesn't really care if it does. It pays Asus to make the tablets, it sells them through its own store, and it makes the money back through Google Play.
Good point. Yeah.
So how can anybody compete with that?
Well,
because LG
what you
doesn't have its own
do
ecosystem.
is you take a whole bunch of features and you slap them on there, and LG does this to a similar extent that Samsung does, but now I'm going to say something.
They get it really bad.
Well, I don't know. That G2 announcement, I will tell you this. I was not in love with the build quality or the choice of materials for that device. I don't think it's very good looking. I don't like the way it feels in my hand. I don't really think I would ever carry it for its physical attributes. But some of those features I found compelling. I liked their multitasking approach. I liked some of what they were doing with multi-screen. I don't think the UI is very pretty, but its functionality, it might come in handy in some instances. I don't know.
Okay. So you're telling me that you did not doze off at that event?
No, that event. Oh no, I liked that event.
Because Taylor and I were live and on the air.
Yeah, well,
you guys couldn't fall asleep.
You guys weren't there, but I was in the audience, and I want to tell you that event treated me like an adult. Did not insult my intelligence, didn't make too many lame jokes, and actually revealed a compelling thing or two. So no, I would never give LG bunk about that event. I sat through, I survived Radio City. I don't want to talk about
tap dancing Tommy.
Yeah, as long as there's not a tap dancing kid on stage, usually I'm happy. But anyway, so
noted.
Yeah,
when I get married and you're at my wedding, I'm gonna have a tap dancing kid jump out in the middle of the dance.
I'm leaving. I'm gonna live tweet it angrily, and I'm gonna leave.
Oh, Joe Levi segue.
I know. So let's talk about something that's actually compelling to me that apparently no one else cares about. This was funny because I sent an email to Stephen Shank, our chief news guy and frequent guest on the Pocketnow Weekly, and Anton yesterday. There was a Galaxy Gear news leak. This was about Galaxy Gear, Samsung's rumored smartwatch, or almost confirmed smartwatch, I guess. And I was like, oh, I saw this at another outlet, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if we've reported on this. So I sent it to Steven and Anton. I'm like, oh, guys, this is awesome. I'm drooling. And Anton sends back this wise remark where he's like, hey, you should check out pocketnow.com and add them to your RSS feed. I hear it's a really cool website. And then he links me to a story that he wrote on the Galaxy Gear. The problem was he buried the Galaxy Gear news in a story about the Galaxy Note 3 screen size, and that was also the title image, so it didn't grab me. I don't get all excited about seeing a screen component. I generally won't click on that news story, but I know a lot of people will. So anyway, so I got annoyed, but then I was like, no, you know what? You're probably right. I'm a super nerd for smartwatches. So I would have put the Galaxy Gear image in the headline, and maybe not a lot of people would have clicked on it. So I want to ask you guys, before we talk about this device specifically, does the Galaxy Gear excite either one of you at all? Why or why not? Jaime gets to go first.
You guys have used the smartwatch. I haven't. If it's just going to be another Android companion to my phone, meaning that it has to pair to my phone to be able to work, and it's just going to save me 3 seconds to pull the phone out of my pocket and see what the watch is going to barely show me, I'm not excited. Unless somebody figured out a way to make this unique in its own way, meaning that it had to be a watch. You couldn't do it in any other way than a watch, then I would be interested in buying that thing. But other than that, if it's just another accessory that I'm going to have to charge, which is really the reason why Google Glass is really so lukewarm. I mean, people are not really excited anymore about it because if you don't pair it and you don't pay for the tethering plan, you can't use it. So what's the point of having it?
Hold on, I don't. That's a whole nother. I would dispute your contention that no one's excited about Google Glass anymore because it requires a tethering plan.
It's just hype, but it's not functional, is what I'm saying.
Let's not talk about, because we'll talk forever about Google Glass. We don't want to talk about that. I want to. Yeah. Taylor, what's your on the watch?
Okay, so one, I dispute Jaime's claim about having to use an extra device to barely read a notification because my Pebble has completely changed the way I use my phone.
Yeah.
It stays in my pocket unless I need to pull it out. And the charging thing, that's a totally valid point, but it's also still up in the air because my Pebble, I just tweeted today, or Instagram.
Yeah, I saw your tweet today, yeah.
I don't remember the last time I charged my Pebble. Today I charged it, and I think I charged it maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Wait, get out of here. Did you post an Instagram photo of your Pebble today?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus. It never stops. I was going to do that 2 hours ago. I didn't know that. I was going to do that today. I'm really glad I didn't, because you and I are still doing the same thing at the same time. That's bizarre.
Okay, but here's the thing, Taylor. You have an e-ink display watch. It's different. This is a full...
Yeah, it's e-paper.
It's LCD. It's LCD.
No,
but it's
special
monochrome.
Implementation of that.
Yeah. The point being is color requires more power.
It's e-paper.
So listen, LG has taken a stab at the smartwatch years ago, like 3 years ago, and it was terrible. Brandon reviewed it. Then Sony has come out with 2 smartwatches, and they still haven't taken off.
They're awful.
They're awful, and again, listen, we're geeks. We live in a bubble. We get a lot of devices, and it's our job to test them. But if I would have to step aside from my role and just think about the fact that I'm going to have to be paying for that watch, I would rather buy me a GPS watch or something that adds me some functionality that the phone won't provide.
Yeah, that's a fair argument. But in the same respect, I've really loved the way that my Pebble works, and there are also some bad sides to that, in that I've said this like 15 times in this podcast, but I wrote about it today, in that it's also made me maybe a little more rude when I'm with people, because somebody's talking to me and I keep looking at my wrist and they think I'm checking the time.
You got a hot date there, sailor?
Yeah, and I'm checking my wrist, and I have to explain to them, no, I'm not looking at the time. Somebody just texted me, and then it becomes no less rude than just checking your phone.
Right. No, it's not a polite instrument. It's not.
No. It's not. And that's kind of what it was built on. Because
it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was built on convenience. It wasn't built on being polite.
I'm going to give you an example of what I would.
I'm
going to give you an example of what I would like to see in a smartwatch that didn't work either. You guys remember that Moto Active?
Yeah.
Motorola smartwatch that was a fitness watch. Okay, fine. I love fitness. That's my thing. I want to buy me a fitness watch because I want to compare the results of that GPS tracking to my phones for calibration. But the point is, why did that Moto Active not take off? The reason why was, imagine a watch. Obviously, Android was a very different thing back then. But imagine Android crashing on you on your watch while you're, in a run or something. So it didn't work. I guess. The only reason. Okay, so the only reason why I'm looking forward to this Galaxy Gear is because apparently it won't run Android. Apparently, it'll run something that you remember those rumors that it had its own operating system.
I had not seen those. I'm looking at the news story right now, and I did not know
are
that.
Very old rumors, and the rumors are already forgot the name. Sorry about that, listeners. But they're apparently it either won't run Android or it won't necessarily just run Android. I don't know what the point is.
Everyone's saying it's going to run Android. I mean,
I'm seeing Android everywhere.
Yeah, well, we'll see again. Apparently, they were working on their. If it's not happening now, it's going to happen later. But
wouldn't that be something if they launched the thing on Tizen? If the Galaxy Gear was the first Samsung Tizen device?
It wouldn't surprise me, but I've got something to add. My problem with the Galaxy Gear is that I guess 95% sure that it's going to require a Galaxy device. So a Galaxy Note, a Galaxy S4.
Probably, and it'll use Samsung Connect or whatever, one of their many S-Beam or a T-Beam.
So it's going to require a Samsung device. I don't carry a Samsung device. I don't enjoy Samsung Android phones.
Yeah.
Save for the Note, and the Note 3 might change that.
Do you think they would limit their exposure like that?
Yeah, they would. It's Samsung. They want to push their own ecosystem.
I know.
I guess they're not limiting anymore. I mean, they're pretty much the biggest OEM now. So
yeah, but they're also trying to push people into like the apps. There was a rumor saying that the apps for this watch are actually only going to come from Samsung's apps store.
Probably.
So yeah. What they're doing is they're trying to further people into their own little.
Right. So eventually they'll be able to drop Android altogether from far down the road. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what this device is trying to do. It's selling their ecosystem. And to me that's not cool.
If that is the case. If that is the case, I will be 100% with you. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, I think it would be it's perfectly in line with their behavior, and I think it's consistent with what we've seen from them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did it, but I just don't want them to, so I'm going to believe they're not going to do that.
I'll give you an example of one of those cases that totally failed. The BlackBerry Playbook.
Well, yeah.
The BlackBerry Playbook could not. How could you build a tablet that can't read email unless you have a BlackBerry phone?
Yeah, but we're talking about a very different company, though, right? Because BlackBerry still had already fallen off the top of the heap.
Yes, but that was when BlackBerry was still BlackBerry 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
When they were RIM.
When they were RIM. Research in Motion, and they were falling hard.
Yeah, that's the thing. They were Samsung is nowhere close to falling. I mean, they're on
throwing
the upswing. Despite the fact that they're churning out kind of iterative improvements on plastic stuff, they're skyrocketing.
Yeah, Samsung is throwing a million ideas at a wall, seeing what sticks, and sticking with what sticks. They're moving forward with the good ideas. And the final point I want to add is that the Korea Times, and you called me Buzz Killington yesterday on Twitter for saying this.
Killington.
Yes. But the Korea Times had an interview with a Samsung executive, and her name is Lee Young-hee. I probably mispronounced that. But she calls the Galaxy Gear a concept device.
Yes, a wearable concept device. So that's important. Because if it's a concept device, it's not close to production or even close to being made into production. But they are going to show it off. That has been confirmed.
Yes,
we know we're going to see it. But we don't know if it'll ever get made, I guess. Listen, I want this thing to get made. I like wearable technology, especially watches. It's a nerdy, cool thing. I like them almost as much as I like flip phones.
But, almost as much as you like Star Trek.
Well, the reason I like flip phones and watch phones is because of Star Trek. So there you go.
Well, I was on the right point.
On the right track. You were near there. So we will see.
You're near there.
You're round about the neighborhood. And also, there's some Chinese phone that's the thinnest Android phone ever that we're going to see at IFA. So, that's IFA.
Skip.
Let's skip that. Yeah, we're not talking about that.
Can you imagine that if they would bring back PTT and add that to the Galaxy Gear and make it a thing like push to talk between watches. That would be cool.
All I want is for push to talk to make a comeback. I'm such a push to talk nerd as well.
I just want to make calls with my watch so I can look like Dick Tracy.
Yeah, man. Listen, you got to get that pebble competitor.
Listen, just think about it. Just imagine the idea of having a Bluetooth headset on your head. Because that's the only place you can have it.
I'm trying to imagine it. I'm trying to imagine it, Jaime, but I don't know if I can quite get there. It's so far-fetched.
Sorry about that. Okay, imagine carrying a Bluetooth headset and using your watch. I mean, some people are not. Could this be like the next dumb phone? Meaning,
Oh,
why not?
Nice. What? Like the Bluetooth watch replaces the dumb phone for people who just want voice calling and maybe an SMS?
Yeah, it's going to be a watch. It's going to be a dumb phone concept, and you can either use it as a speakerphone or use an optional accessory to make phone calls.
Can you please?
That would be awesome.
Dude, that is an awesome editorial. I'm not going to be able to write it. You should write it. Is the Bluetooth watch the next dumb phone? You see, you don't care about it, but I would watch that. But now, 10,000 people are going to hear this, and somebody's going to write it.
Somebody will.
Somebody out there.
I won't have time, but somebody will.
You're welcome. I do
want to add one more thing. I lied when I said that I only had one more point to add.
This frustrates me, but go ahead.
Yeah, Lee Young-hee.
Kid, I gotta go see the socks, kid. Yeah, go ahead.
She also said that it would not have a flexible display, which kind of goes against... Gear? Yeah, the Galaxy Gear. She said it would not have a flexible display, which kind of goes against the patents and designs that we've seen. The renders,
What is this render? Who made this render, by the way?
Well, the first renders, I don't know about the colored renders, but I know the first pictures of it were from a patent application. So they're actually what it should look like. But they also show a curved display. So if it's not a flexible display, but it shows a curved display, I don't know. Hands in the air, back away.
You know what it might be? I'm envisioning like an inverse of the Nexus S, where it has a flat. So it's nothing like the render we see, but it has a flat display underneath a curved glass. In glass that's convex.
It might.
It might done be that. What Jaime? What were we going to say?
Well, I guess that's like the only point why you would want a flexible display, because it would be ergonomic for your wrist.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. All right, so I'll admit that I think the renders of this thing have gotten me more excited than anything else about it, because this image of a curved display, that's compelling. I mean,
I'm going to laugh when it comes out and it actually just looks like a pebble with TouchWiz on it.
It's a pebble with TouchWiz and like hyperglaze and faux metal trim.
God.
That's what it's going
to be. Can you imagine? You can now wave at your watch to move, to swipe from side to side.
Yeah, you flick your wrist 15 times and it'll open your email.
I'm like, really, Samsung? How is it that flicking my whole hand will be more ergonomic than just flipping my finger over the display?
Exactly.
Yeah. Basically, what we're so excited for about the Galaxy Gear is that it's everything against what Samsung is theoretically about. So the fact that if they announce this and it's a typical Samsung device, we won't care. That's pretty much what we've just confirmed.
Right.
So basically, Samsung, if you do your normal thing, nobody's going to care about the Galaxy Gear. Do something new. Basically.
No tap dancing.
Right.
No tap dancing.
Please, Samsung, if you do one more thing, please throw some tap dancing in your IFA event for Michael.
Just for
Michael's
sake.
Okay, Samsung, word of warning. Our resident Romanian is going to be there. And if you pull a tap dancer there, he's going to push his Russian accent stand up.
I don't like tap dancing.
I don't like.
Hey, listen, I want to tell you guys that I took a tap dancing class in college. I had a dance requirement to fulfill as part of my acting degree, and I took a tap dancing class, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. But I was not any good at it. And I'm really glad that cameras on phones were not so prevalent back then, because there's no footage of me tap dancing, and there never will be, and I'm glad about that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there is footage of you pissed drunk in Vegas, so anyways.
Well, there's footage of you sawing a couple logs in Vegas, so I got you. Guys, I think we've hit that magical point of the podcast where we have to say goodnight. Taylor, final thoughts before we bail on out of this aircraft?
I don't like tap dancing.
It's not a bad Tony.
I just imagine Tony getting up and being like, "Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Let's go.
This is a waste. This is a waste of my time.
We should not be doing this. Yeah.
Let's go get some Jack. Let's go get some Jack. This is a waste of time.
We will have a Jack. We will have a Coke. We will do a podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tony, we will be doing the very next Pocketnow Weekly podcast you hear will be live from IFA, and by live I mean as live as it usually is. And we will record it from a hotel room with probably a lot of echo, and we will have a little bit of palinka, so it should be nice and enjoyable. We should be able to link up with one of you fine gentlemen back here in the United States, so we can have a nice three-way conversation. And I think it's going to be very exciting because we're going to be talking about things we've just seen, including Samsung's products, because their event is before anybody else's. Samsung and Sony are like 2 days before the show even starts. And then, and then there's a variety of shows after that. There's LG is also opening their booth the next day. So we're going to have a lot to talk about next week before IFA even gets started. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to be covering it at pocketnow.com as usual. And guys, thank you in advance for backing us up back here in the homeland. Really appreciate it.
Guys, mind if I kill your exit for a second? I mean,
I haven't started yet.
Are we even expecting anything from Windows Phone? Anything from IFA? Nothing.
The Windows Phone team will be there from Microsoft. They will be. I imagine it'll be much like MWC was, where they have a lot of events. Or Nokia had their 720 and 520 at MWC, but Microsoft also just had a kind of a thing where they showed off the existing Windows Phone wares, and we got to talk to some of the people on the team, and that was very cool. But I don't think we're expecting anything new from them. It would be cool to be surprised, but I don't think we will be.
Isn't Motorola going to be there as well?
To be quite honest, I don't know. It's a European event, and so I think, unless I'm missing it on my checklist, I don't see it.
It's on here somewhere. Hold on. I tweeted Stefan earlier, so
our friend of the show, Stefan Constantinescu, at What the Bit. We like him. We like our friend Stefan. Damn it, I can never get that right either.
Yeah, I can't get it right.
I can't even get my friends' names right. Tyler.
All right, here it is.
Tyler and Jamie. We're about to close
sorry, it was HTC. Just kidding.
Yeah, I thought so, because Moto is not big in Europe. So we will, we will be seeing everyone.
Wait a second. Speaking of HTC, the 1X Max or 1 Max or whatever.
Oh yeah, the one. Well, but I don't think we've seen any signs. That listeners, that is the phablet that is made in the shape of the HTC One. By the way, I just sent an HTC One Mini to Brandon Miniman. That thing's cute.
Yeah,
cute. It is.
Too small for my hands.
Fresh HTC One Max images and details come to light 4 hours ago.
It's too limited for my hands, anyways.
Haha, we making jokes? Hey, there's definitely a square outline under the camera of the HTC One Max, presumably for a fingerprint reader.
I can't figure out. They've tried to do fingerprint readers ever since the Pocket PC.
Yeah, but this one is right where the dimple is on the Moto X. What if you had to keep your finger on the HTC One Max the entire time you used it? If you ever took your finger off, it would lock.
You need to stop talking.
Oh, God.
Listen, I think this is a great idea. I'm going to go start my own company.
I'm going to make the Martin phone.
You're going to be calling that the finger phone.
Yeah, that's right. Finger dimple. Hey,
cross your eyes to pinch
pitching the finger dimple. The finger dimple links up with your Galaxy Gear. Just cross your eyes and stand on your head, and you can make a phone call.
Okay.
Scrunch your nose and blink twice to take a picture.
That's right. I want to make it clear that thank you, listeners, for your questions that were tweeted in before this episode of the Weekly. We answered all of them. They were all about the Galaxy Note 3 because apparently nobody who follows us cares about anything else. So hopefully we covered your questions in the course of our discussion. Sorry we didn't call you out individually, but I think we cut it a little close to broadcast time because there were just not enough responses. Listener mail, by the way, we will get to you guys. Unfortunately, not next week because Tony and I will be covering IFA. We will get to you the week after that. And feel free to beat me over the head with that quote if I forget the week after that. But we're going to have a good amount of listener mail by the time we come back, and maybe we'll have another special episode. Does that sound good to you guys?
No.
That's good.
No? Taylor hates everything. Jaime, thank you. Thank you for your positivity. Gentlemen, actually, I want to thank you both. for joining me on this special episode of The Weekly. Everyone, listeners, find us on Twitter. Jaime is at Jaime_Rivera. Taylor is at Caspertek, Caspertek, no rolled R. And as always, you can find me at Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocketnow officially at Pocketnow on Twitter, as Pocketnow on Instagram, Facebook, Google+, and you can share opinions with other listeners online at forums.pocketnow.com, which is a happening place. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes or Xbox Music. And if you have a topic, question, or suggestion for the show, or you just want to say hi, you can email us at podcast@pocketnow.com. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week from Berlin.
I'll see y'all later.
See ya.
That was great because Taylor was all bubbly, and then Jaime sounded like the most dejected, depressed child at the dentist office. See ya. It's like we just had a sleepover, and you don't want us to leave, so it's like, bye, Jaime. Bye. That's cool.